Ladies and gentlemen, my name is
Scott.
Hey, yo. Is that his younger brother? It's gonna be
Jeff.
The cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
And you're listening to
all of the great action figures from our good friends at Hasbro.
the Fully Poseable
Have your own WrestleMania with all your favorite figures.
Wrestling Figure
Each sold separately from LJN.
Podcast.
And we are the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling.
Hey, welcome to episode 199 of the Fully Poseable Wrestling Figure Podcast, the longest running episodic wrestling figure podcast going today. My name is Jeff. Sitting alongside next to me is my real life brother, not storyline brother, Scott. Scott, say hello.
Hello.
Scott, the big 200 next week.
Yes, I can't wait. I mean, dude, 200? I'm shocked we got 20 out of this, but 200 is amazing.
And it coincides also with the release of the Toys That Made Us that we will also be on as well.
Hopefully. Allegedly. Fingers crossed.
Yes. Come on, 2 seconds.
Come on. I'm not even going to say what everybody else with the dirty mind is thinking.
What are they thinking, Scott?
That they all hope we're on the Toys That Made Us for 2 seconds.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Keeping it family friendly, folks.
If you want to pick up any of our past t-shirts, head on over to Pro Wrestling Tees or whatamaneuver.net. Over there, you can pick up sweatshirts, you can pick up t-shirts, you can pick up tank tops, which I wouldn't recommend unless you're living in Hawaii. Any of our past t-shirts at all, you can get the brand new Wallet Heat sweatshirt, t-shirt, hoodie, tank top, whatever you are looking for. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, and the Book of Faces at Fully Poseable, Instagram, Fully Poseable WFP. And the cool thing is our show is now up on YouTube, Scott.
Oh, it is?
They can go and listen to it on YouTube now.
Wow. Okay. Hey, another option. That's awesome.
Yes, very happy about that. You can go back and listen to any of our past podcasts on FullyPosablePodcast.com. Download that Podbean app if you are on the go. Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And now YouTube, Scott.
And YouTube. That was a good slide in there, dude. I didn't even know you had done that, but hey, great move. Now, it's not us sitting there talking. It's just audio, correct?
It's just the audio from the show.
Okay, cool. Well, it's another option. Good move, dude.
Thank you. Thank you. Please rate and review on iTunes like Scott. Thank you to John for sending over the UK reviews. So I'm going to be going back in time, like Back to the Future, and reading some old school reviews that were left quite a while ago, actually. Like this one, Scott. It came in from 6 Foot Drop. It gave a sweet 5 stars, and he says, "What the world needs." He says, "I'm a subscriber to 20 or so constantly revolving podcasts of multiple genres. They are all fantastic, but every one of them at times touches on the negativity in the world. The Fully Poseable podcast takes me back to a time before the internet, to a time before outrage and correctness were a way of life. It takes me back to happy, carefree times away from the stress and cynicism of the modern world. For an hour or more every week, Jeff and Scott send a shot of happiness straight to my soul. Stories and anecdotes about meeting wrestling legends, exciting news about upcoming figure releases and old school finds, lighthearted humor with an occasional tint of blue. It's a place a wrestling fan can go to and escape. It's a mental man cave filled wall to wall with Hasbro, Galoob, Mattel, Jax, Remco, and LJN. At 42, I probably shouldn't be listening, but I can't resist. It feels like Saved by the Bell, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Thunder in Paradise. It's retro cool. It's the simple, innocent, fun time pleasure that becomes harder to find. I truly love this podcast. It's not the subject matter that's a thing of beauty. It's the way it's delivered. Jeff and Scott have an easy manner and a gift for whimsy. Every show flows effortlessly. It educates, it entertains, and above all, it delivers. Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. I love that review.
Oh my goodness. We should put that on a poster, dude. That was incredible. Thank you so much, 6 Foot Drop, for the kind words. That was incredible.
That's going on a t-shirt.
Every bit of it. Every single word. It's going to be front and back, double spaced.
It's going to just be the iTunes review picture on the shirt. That's it.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. That was incredible. Thank you so much for those kind words. I loved the imagery, the descriptions. That was I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't get compared to Alf or the A-Team, but I will take Fresh Prince of Bel-Air every day of the week.
What about Fall Guy?
I would have taken Fall Guy as well. I think Punky Brewster might have been a slight insult, so I'm happy he didn't go in that direction. But what a review. Thank you so much.
Hey, don't you ever insult Punky Brewster.
Really?
Or Silver Spoons.
Well, I would, no, absolutely not. I would never insult Silver Spoons. No way. Punky Brewster, though? I'll take Facts of Life over Punky Brewster.
What was the one where the girl would put her fingers together and pause time?
Was that Bewitched?
No, not Bewitched. Out of This World.
Oh, dude, you got me on that one.
Remember her dad she would talk to her dad via a cube that was next to her bed?
Are you sure you didn't imagine this? This sounds made up.
No, dude, it was an actual show. It was called Out of This World. And her dad lived on a different planet, and he would talk to her via a cube that was next to her bed.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I think you dreamed this.
Because she would bring her fingers together and pause time, like Zach Morris would bring his hands together and pause time as well.
Gimmick infringement, see?
Right, they overlapped.
I don't remember that show at all. Way to really, really bring the show down, dude. You would figure 199 episodes, it would be enough practice to not do stuff like that. But here we are.
What?
Obscure sitcoms from the 80s. Come on, man.
Hey, you know what? That's the way I roll.
What's next? Are we going to discuss Suddenly Susan?
Yes.
No, we're not.
Let's do it.
No, we're not. No, we're not. You don't even know what that show is, dude. Give me a break. Oh, that's another good one. Give me a break.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Anyway.
Thank you very much. If you want to send us any audio questions, or anything else at all, send it on over to fullyposeablegwfp@gmail.com. Scott, I want to thank Tim for doing the $1 Million Man Cash Mob. Tim went to Ryan's Toy Connection in Bakersfield. He picked up a Ted DiBiase Hasbro and an EC3 Elite. He said you can find Ryan's shop at RTC Toys on Instagram and on Facebook at RTC Toys. Now, Scott and I are going to have the listeners kind of pump the brakes on the $1 Million Man Cash Mob. Actually, it was starting to pick up steam, but we are going to pump the brakes because what we want you guys to do, and we are all for this. Rant with Ant, been on our show. Love the guy.
One awesome dude.
He is doing Rant-A-Claus 2. So last year he generated $800 on toys for children in need. We want to help him grow more and make it a better Christmas for these kids that are not as fortunate as others. So here's what we want you guys to do. We want you to follow The Rant at the RVNT Pod. He says, happy to announce Rant-A-Claus 2 will be taking place. Last year, we were able to spend $800 on toys for children in need. Let's make it bigger this year, and we're all for it. He says, to donate, send money PayPal to Ant, A-N-T, 15434 at yahoo.com. He says he's going to release a vlog later this year regarding it. But again, we want you guys to send money over to Rant with Ant on PayPal, ant15434 at yahoo.com. We're all in favor of this. Ant is such a good guy. We were loving what he was doing last year, and we want to try and get as much money over to him for this year. Let's make it bigger than $800. Let's surpass that. So you guys know who Rant with Ant is. He's a great guy, and we want you guys to support this.
Yeah, I don't see why he can't triple that number, especially with the power of our listeners and what they bring to the table, our community that we're such proud members of that has created over the course of this show. Let's really pump that money over to Ant. You know, maybe instead of buying a bunch of figures for yourself, send that money over to Ant, or send half that budget over to Ant and help him make a very Merry Christmas for a ton of kids. I followed what he did last year. He was posting pictures of the progress, and when he went to the store and purchased all the stuff, it was absolutely incredible. Very heartwarming. Ant really made it happen for a ton of kids last year. Let's try to triple that number. Like, let's just say $2,500, man. Let's just take some of our figure budget, send it over to Ant. There's definitely going to be a donation from the Fully Poseable guys. We would love to see the Fig Life community really step up. Any donations you send his way, just throw hashtag Fig Life into the comments or the tip note. Send it over to him. and just make it happen for these kids, man. Really, really cool thing that Ant's doing. Let's be a part of it. Let's make Christmas really, really enjoyable and special for a lot of kids.
Scott and I were also on the Grapple Arcade podcast this past week. The show hasn't dropped just yet, hoping here within the next week or so. But we discussed Jack's Classics. We discussed Jack's Classic 2-packs, Jack's Classic 3-packs. What a great time that was, sitting in with Paul and Mark. Those guys were great. Was it fun reminiscing like our nostalgia segment with them, Scott?
Oh, absolutely. But you know how we kind of cut it up into little bits so that we can extend it over a certain number of shows and not do the entire line in one shot. We basically, I mean, I wouldn't say we covered it from start to finish, but I mean, we had a good hour and a half conversation on nothing but Jack's Classic Superstars. It was a great time, and I'll tell you what, I'm not knocking Mark's knowledge of Classic Superstars at all because he had a ton of knowledge on it, but Paul is like a Classic Superstars guru. Like, this guy could do a podcast just on Classic Superstars, and the thing would last like 5 or 6 years. His knowledge of like outfits that guys wore and correct time periods for this guy, and it was incredible listening to him with his ideas and what he was throwing out there and stuff that he was kind of nitpicking in the line. And I really enjoyed talking to those two guys. Their knowledge was incredible, impressive, and it was a blast chatting with them. And again, it was like you mentioned, Jeff, singles, 2-packs, 3-packs. We didn't really dip into the deluxes too much. But yeah, if you want to hear an amazing conversation about Classic Superstars, definitely check out their pod when we're on.
The other thing is they dropped the unreleased figures on us, and man, that caught me out of the blue because I had forgotten about a lot of those figures that were unreleased. And it was funny too because after I left your house, Scott, when we got done recording with Paul and Mark, driving home, and I'm thinking, oh, damn it, the Hogan Mr. America figure. I don't know if that was a Classic Superstar or where that was supposed to go, but I started thinking about all the Jacks that were unreleased because I think it was Paul that mentioned the Arnold Skoland.
Yep.
And then I started thinking about all these figures that started just flooding back to me that were unreleased just via Jacks, not just a Jacks Classic line. I'm talking about Jacks altogether. I was thinking about the Juventud Guerrera that didn't get released. I was thinking about the Sandman. I think that one was supposed to be a Jacks Classic where he had the American tights on that FTC is going to be doing.
Yeah.
So I just started thinking about all these figures that were unreleased because Paul brought up a great point that I had forgotten about. Jacks would release the next 10 series of Jacks Classics. So it was like, here's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It was like insane how many they would drop all at once. Names would get filtered out as time goes along. And then you'd be like, oh man, I forgot that this guy was scheduled for series 11 and then he didn't get put in, or so-and-so was shown at San Diego Comic-Con and they got dropped. And you forget about all that over time because it's like, oh yeah, that was supposed to happen. That was supposed to happen. That name was on the list. You just forget about it. And then when Paul brought it up, I was like, oh man, like my brain started going a mile a minute and I couldn't remember any names that came to me right away off the top of my head.
You know what I equate it to is like when you're watching a game show on TV and it's so easy. Like you're watching Wheel of Fortune, you know what the puzzle is, and the dude's like, and you're like, dude, it's totally this. Like I could see like people at home being like, making recommendations, and we're all like, for example, they brought up interesting costume choices or figure appearances in the Classic Superstars line. Like, what are ones that you guys questioned? And of course, when we talked about the 2-packs on our show, one of the biggest knocks that we had was the British Bulldogs 2-pack, where Davey Boy Smith was released with long hair, when we all know the 87, or I should say 86 through 90 Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith had short hair. So that was one of our big complaints about it. But of course, we're just chit-chatting, and of course we forget it. And I remember it as I'm taking the garbage out later that night. I'm like, oh, dude, I totally forgot about the Bulldogs' long hair in the 2-pack. But just stuff like that their knowledge of the Classic Superstars really showed through in that episode. So if you want to hear a couple of dudes, aside from Jeff and I, with some big-time Classic Superstars knowledge, Mark and Paul will really floor you with it.
The one I remember the most was the Fabulous Moolah. Moolah was one where you saw it originally and you're like, oh, cool. And then you got it and you're like, what happened here?
Who put this dumpster fire in a box?
Oh, yeah, Chinese New Year. That's right.
Exactly.
Scott, I did do a little bit of toy spotting. I guess San Leandro is now becoming Basic Central.
Oh, that's where they located it too. San Leandro's where it's at.
Yes, but I can't get Basic 100.
It's everywhere else.
I know, right? So anyways, my toy spotting out here has just been dull. Did get in the Rock Ghostbusters figure that I ordered off Macari. What sucked is I found it on Macari and I found it for $26 ship. And I'm like, that's not bad. You know what? I'll just get it there. The very next day, Walmart.com got it online for I think it's $19.99 on there right now.
Doesn't that literally happen every time? And it doesn't happen until you finally pull the trigger on the secondary market that your retail store gets it in. It's so frustrating.
That was my toy spotting, so now my Ghostbusters are complete. So that's it for me, dude.
Nice. Well, my toy spotting through the rest of 2019, spoiler alert, is pretty much going to be 0. I am going to order or I should say pre-order, the Okada figure from Super 7.
Nice.
Probably going to pass on the rest, but it's basically 2 feet jumping on the brakes on my figure budget. We've got a Disneyland trip coming up in mid-December, San Diego trip at the end of the year that we're making with some friends for New Year's. So my figure budget is nil through the end of the year. Got to make Christmas happen, of course, for the kids as well. Part of that is Disneyland, but yeah, my budget's tied up in other stuff aside from figures, but I am going to order the Okada before I go on a figure hiatus. And that's going to basically round out my toy spotting for 2019.
But your daughter has a funny story that she told you.
Yes. So my oldest, we all know she graduated in May. And now she has decided to join the workforce instead of going off to college. Totally support her 100% in that, letting her kind of make her own decisions. So she now works at Amazon. And she is she's not a picker, she's a scanner. So basically they bring these big, it's almost like a huge organizer with all these drawers on it. They roll it up to her and she's got to pick stuff out and scan it and throw it on a belt. And if she comes across a damaged package, she has to toss it aside and list what's damaged about it or what's wrong with it. So her first week, I kept saying, did you find any wrestling figures? Did you get any WWE stuff? And it was no, nothing yet. So a couple of weeks back, she comes up, she goes, Dad, I finally got my first WWE figures. I go, oh, who'd you get? And she goes, it started with an R, and it was like, something like that. And I'm like, Roman Reigns. And she's like, no, it wasn't Roman Reigns. And I'm racking my brain. Finally decide, oh, it's Rowan. And she had 2 of the Rowan Bludgeon Brother figures come through. And I've got to say, I think I've trained her pretty well. Because she had to scan both of them. One of them was in great condition, but the other, the card was bent. So what did my daughter do? Scanned the one that was good, sent it through, took the one that was damaged, and sent it back with a note that the card was damaged. I was so proud of her, was completely blown away. I was like, kid, you've been listening. So she sent back the damaged figure, and then she let me know that she's had a couple more come through. I believe it was Funko Pops, and the other one she's gotten through that the cards were okay, but I guess she saw on another cart, somebody had an Elite figure. I think she said it was The Miz, and it had a damaged package, but the person that was scanning it went ahead and sent it through. So just know that with Amazon, Jeff, you and I have griped a lot about the condition of their packages sometimes when you get them in. You've had pretty good luck for the most part, but we've seen the horror stories on Twitter. But your figure, when you order it, it's going to go through a lot of hands before it ends up in that box and on your doorstep. Not only is it going to go through shipping's hands, but it's going to go through the person that picked it, to the person that scanned it, to the person that ultimately threw it into the box with no packing materials, to the guy who's handling that box, putting it on your doorstep. It goes through so many hands that it's a miracle, Jeff, that you have had so many success stories through Amazon. But again, as I said, we've seen the horror stories, and that's one of the reasons why you've seen the horror stories, because those people are touching, I think she said you have to touch a particular item every 12 seconds. They want you picking, scanning, putting it on the belt, and moving on. So due to the speed as well, obviously somebody that's not my daughter is just grabbing it and going, whatever, it's a toy, scan, send it on its way, no regard for the packaging. I'm very proud to say my daughter is the exception to that rule, and she's looking for condition of packages on collectibles. Super proud of her.
So what did she do with the bad card one?
She sent it back. She said that the packaging was damaged and sent it back to get to have them pick another one.
Nice. I'm so proud of her.
Oh, I was too. Absolutely. It's almost like she's listened to me and is like, nope, these people are going to get good packages, at least the ones that cross my area. It's going to be a good packaged figure. And she did.
That is awesome, dude. That is freaking fantastic.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of insight as to why people get damaged figures sometimes, as to how many hands it goes through before it ultimately ends up on your doorstep. That's one of the reasons why.
You know, as far as being proud of her, it goes this story and then graduation.
Oh, yeah, this one takes the cake for sure. Absolutely. Yep. Like, it's like she had to graduate, but she didn't have to send back that Rowan. She just did. Proud dad moment.
Well done. You trained her well.
Thank you. It only took 18 years.
So, Scott, this show is just going to be basically news. That's all it's going to be, is just news. There was some festival that happened this past week that we need to get into, that there were some prototypes shown at, so we do need to get into that. What do you say we jump into it?
Strap in, folks. We got a lot of news.
Scott, before we jump into this festival that happened this past week, you have some news on Super 7.
Yes. If you are interested in pre-ordering the Super 7 figures or pre-ordering the Storm Collectibles Jushin Liger figure, head on over to megalopolis.toys. They have the Super 7 figures up for pre-order, and they also have the Jushin Liger figure available for pre-order. So again, megalopolis.toys, you know they're going to ship those packages to you. Unlike most people at Amazon, they're going to give it to you on a perfect card, in a perfect box, with pictures before you even receive it. You get the white glove treatment. Head on over to megalopolis.toys, pre-order your Super 7 and Jushin Liger figures.
That's where I will be ordering my figures from. Well, not Super 7. I actually jumped on the pre-order when they went live. But as far as the Jushin Thunder Liger figure, I'm jumping all over it on Megalopolis. I'm so happy that they got it in over there.
Yeah, I am too. And I wish I could have announced it last week, but I literally got the email from them on Sunday morning that they were going to be doing the pre-orders on those figures, which was the same day the show dropped. So I didn't have a chance to get it in, but I wanted to make sure I let everybody know this week that you can pre-order Super 7 and the Storm Collectibles Jushin Liger figures at megalopolis.toys. Tell them Scott and Jeff sent you.
And also, I want to announce that FTC showed off the head sculpt for Jay White. I know it's not an updated look, but that's what happens in the toy world. Figures get sculpted, and then the wrestler changes their look, and guess what happens? I won't say it's Jay White's rookie look, because rookie look, he had kind of like a mohawk down the middle, but it's long hair kind of pushed over to the side a little bit. The head sculpt looks great. And I didn't know this because Chris from FTC was actually on a podcast called Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. And Chris was on over there, and I didn't know this, but FTC uses a sculptor that used to work for NECA. I did not know that, Scott.
Those are pretty good credentials.
I would say so. The Jay White head sculpt looks great. They showed off the rendering, the jacket with the markings on the back. I love it. That's going to be a definite order for me, being a New Japan mark as I am. And so, yeah, that figure's going to be hopefully coming home with me when that sucker drops.
Can I just bring something up real quick?
Where are you going?
No. Nothing bad. Nothing bad. We've been talking about Super 7 figures. And we had a discussion last week about their price point and how it would be moving forward in the line, maintaining that price point. I was talking over text message with Christopher Dean, and one of the things that came up in our conversation was the price point and how high it's gotten on some of these figures. And I wonder if that's going to lead Mattel into at least entertaining the thought of doing crowdsourcing or crowdfunding, and here's why. If they see that Super 7 and Boss Fight / Master Republic are successful with these higher priced figures, because again, with Super 7, you're paying $45 a figure without shipping. A Mattel Elite figure at retail, full price, is going to run you $20. So over 2 times the cost of a Mattel figure is what a Super 7 figure is going to run you. But if Super 7 is successful, and Boss Fight / Master Republic is successful with their $38 price point, do you think that Mattel would at least look at that and think, okay, people are paying that amount of money for wrestlers. Would they pay that? And again, I'm not saying just Matty Collector, but even like a crowdsourcing thing, like, hey guys, we're going to make Midnight Express figures. They're going to be $25 each. We're only going to make 5,000 of them. If we hit X amount of dollars, we're going to create them. I'm just wondering if they do see that these hardcore collectors are actually shelling out cash for Independence, for ROH, for Luchas, for NJPW guys. Collectors are going to put their money where their mouth is. Do you think Mattel's going to take note of that and actually either do a storefront online where we can get the figures we've been clamoring for? Like everybody's always asking for Midnight Express, British Bulldogs, the Rougeos, Dino Bravo, Billy Graham, name a wrestler. We're always yelling for those. But if people are actually spending money on those other figures, will Mattel say, hey, they're going to part with the cash? Let's create our own thing. And then we can put figures up and see if people want to buy those. I'm just wondering if these other players that are in the game now are going to kind of force Mattel's hand and make them at least look and say, hey, this could be profitable.
We've had this discussion before, and I don't think Mattel's going anywhere near that. Would they entertain it and look at it? Possibly. But, I mean, we talked to Bill a year and a half ago at Stockton Con. This question was posed to him, and he said no.
But the only player in the game outside of Mattel at that point really was FTC.
Well, that's correct.
Okay, Storm was out there too. But now Storm has had a much better showing. Not that the original ones were bad by any stretch. They were amazing. But they've put out some more Hogans. They've got a killer Liger figure that's coming out. Incredible Liger figure. Super 7 is a major player now. Boss Fight, Master Republic are major players now. So there's more chefs stirring the soup, right? You've got other players in the mix. And Mattel knows about them. Steve Ozer has commented on how good their figures are. But if they're profitable, I'm just wondering if that's going to kind of rattle Mattel's cage a little bit and be like, hey guys, there's money to be made outside of your meat and potatoes Elite Basic Battle Pack. Like there's other money to be made. Like guys are going to spend money. These hardcore collectors are going to spend money on the figures that they've been yelling at you to make all these years. Assuming that these guys are under contract, or assuming there's a way for you to get them under contract, will they create another storefront, or will they dip their toes into the crowdsourcing pool to our screaming of, hey, we want Midnight Express. Okay, there's money to be made. Let's see if it's going to be a feasible thing for us to do. I just think that maybe it's at least going to rattle their cage and make them entertain it again. Because yes, we did talk to Bill about a year and a half ago, but now the game has changed. There's more players out there that I dare to say are making better figures than what Mattel's making, or at least on par with what Mattel's making. They're going to be profitable. I'm just hoping it rattles their cage a little bit.
It possibly could, but at the same time, I just don't see them going in that direction. I think they're more geared to the brick and mortar stores of Target and Walmart. I don't think that they're going to go in that online Matty collector. I know you're not saying Matty collector, but I'm just kind of bringing that back up. Or like you said, crowdsourcing. I don't think they're going to go into that genre. I just don't foresee Mattel doing that. Is it a great idea? In my eyes, yes. I would love to hear the counterpoint to it. But at the same time, it makes sense to do that. It really does. I mean, to give us the figures, the hardcore collectors, the figures that we've been clamoring for. I'm about to go into a list where it seems like almost every question, everybody had a wish list.
Yes. So the conversation that I'm trying to have right here is basically a preface to that Q&A that you're going to be reading, where as I was going through it, Jeff, and thank you for making all of those notes, by the way, kind of pull back the curtain a little bit. Thank you for making all those notes. But it's kind of a preface to that Q&A because you're right. That's everybody's question. Are we going to get X? Are we going to get Y? Are we going to get Z? Are we going to get A and B? Everybody is asking for all of these names. And I think with all these other players that are coming into the wrestling figure game now, those licenses for those guys, I would think there's going to be some demand for those, because the more figures you put out that people are really clamoring for, the more money that's going to go into your pocket. So it's going to make sense at some point for one of these companies to step up and be like, okay, fine. You guys really want a British Bulldogs 2-pack? We're going to make it happen. or you really want a Rock and Roll Express 2-pack, we're going to make it happen. It's just a matter of who's going to grab it first.
But that's also contingent on if the guys are under contract, of course.
Well, of course. Yeah, that goes without saying. Yes, that's assuming that A, you're able to go out and get the license to do those guys, and then B, actually produce those action figures. Like, that's kind of... It's just something I've been thinking about with all these other guys coming in, and I say how great it is to be a wrestling figure collector in 2019. I want all of these players to kind of up the game for everybody else. So I'm really hoping that as you listen to the Q&A that Jeff is going to go over here in a little bit, are we going to get so-and-so? Are we going to get so-and-so? I think that there's a real opportunity that those guys get made now with all these other names that are making figures. You're going to want to grab the rights to those guys to produce these figures.
Very well said, Scott. But now we must get into the festival.
Without further ado...
This Festival of RSC went on this past, was it Saturday or Sunday?
I believe it was Saturday. Sunday. Threesa.
So anyways, hopefully Mattel sent all these prototypes with packing over to this festival. Scott, so I'm going to just get the biggest one out of the way right now. The Fiend rendering. Now, basically what it was just a rendering. It was kind of weird how they did it. It was like almost they took like a cutout and put it on this plastic kind of frame, I guess, and plastered it up there to show off on the table. So far, so good. The rendering looks great. I don't see them messing this up. This will be part of the, it says Elite Collection, so it doesn't look like it'll be a cash grab of the Ultimate Edition, Scott.
Which, hey, kudos to Mattel. You know, they did it with Shinsuke. They definitely did it with Goldberg by only including him in the ring originally. So kudos to them for just putting him out as an Elite. A lot to be said for that. That's really kind of taking care of your collectors that don't want to spend the extra on the Ultimate Editions. You give it to them as an Elite. I still like our idea, in conjunction with the person that recommended it, that we had a couple shows ago about getting the entire Firefly Funhouse configured between like 2 different releases of Bray / The Fiend.
Yep.
But I'm okay with what Mattel's doing.
So the Fiend rendering is coming. Somebody actually tweeted out, and I've drawn a blank. I read so many tweets a day, but somebody tweeted out that Bill said that they are working on the Fiend figure. This was prior to the rendering. And I replied back, I would be shocked if they weren't working on the Fiend figure.
Bill's like, the Fiend? Who is this Fiend you speak of?
Basic 103 variant will be Becky in the orange shirt that said Relent Lass. Get it? Relent Lass. It's not relentless. Yep.
I see what they did there. Very witty.
Matt Riddle will have yellow trunks that says bro across the crotch. So many jokes we could go right there, dude.
Bro.
Basic 104 Keith Lee. Regular version will be Keith in the blue trunks. Variant will be black trunks.
Bask in his glory. Decent figure.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I gotta give him credit. I like the body style they gave Keith Lee. It is very lifelike to Keith Lee, so I give them credit. I don't know if they've ever used that body style before. Maybe Samoa Joe? Maybe?
Possibly, but it seems beefier than the Joe figures that have come out, but it absolutely looks like Keith Lee. So, yeah, great job, Mattel. That figure looks really, really good.
Yeah, and I'm going to be grabbing both versions. If I see the black trunks, I'll get the black trunks. If I see the blue trunks, I'm going to get the blue trunks.
Perfect.
So definitely picking up that basic. Peyton Royce will be a Target exclusive for Elite 73. They showed off her in the Cloth Iconics t-shirt. Again, cloth shirt. That will be the exclusive for Target in Elite 73. Elite 74, they showed off the AJ Finn Balor. He will have a cloth jacket. I love the jacket. I'm happy to see them going away from the molded stuff, because in the past, I think that jacket would have been molded.
Oh, for sure it would have. Well, look at the top picks. That one had the molded jacket.
Right. So I'm actually glad that they're putting this style of jacket. It looks great. I love it.
It's almost like there was a podcast that really was calling out the Polly Pocket clothing and clamoring for cloth.
Yeah, a lot of the listeners actually went to bat for us too on that one. They're like, oh, this thing sucks. I have to dislocate arms and pull joint out of the shoulder just to get the jacket off.
Yeah, and you've mentioned this many times too, Jeff, is there's a time and a place for the Polly Pocket style, and there's a time and a place for the cloth. And so maybe Mattel is going to go kind of retool the Polly Pocket styles, because people were really having to like dislocate arms to get the clothing off. Whereas with the cloth items, you don't really have to do that. So hopefully Mattel will retool some of those Polly Pocket style clothings and release them in the future a little more user-friendly.
Goldberg, he'll be in black and white trunks. The exclusive, Walmart exclusive in this will be Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Again, these makers cannot mess up Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
No.
Every Jim the Anvil Neidhart figure is excellent.
Yeah.
Every single one, man. Every figure is so good that Hasbro is like, I guess if we had to choose one Jim the Anvil Neidhart that we would basically put away, it would be the Hasbro.
Yeah, it was, and that's saying something because even the Hasbro one's good, but it's in his high energy outfit. So, or I'm sorry,
Right.
the new Foundation outfit. So, but even that one's good, but we're going to knock it because of the outfit. But every time they do a head sculpt, you're 100% right, Jeff. Nailed it.
Natalia, she will have the cat ears. Lindsay Dorado will be the variant. Regular version will come with the Lucha House Party shirt, and Pinata variant will be in gold outfit. Network Spotlight Series, Kurt Angle, Matt Hardy will be coming with the dilapidated boat, and I think the drone was in there. Scott, I forgot to put that on the notes. Was the drone in there?
Was the drone the one that shot the image of his face?
Yes.
Yes, then the drone is in there. Kudos to Mattel for actually getting those compound accessories into a figure. Like they had them done. It must have killed them that they had to scrap that, but they're going to get them out anyway. And who knows? Maybe they'll do like a flashback Bray Wyatt that have the other accessories in there with it. But good job, Mattel, on fitting those accessories in somewhere.
Ricochet, he will come with a red Ricochet shirt with the U.S. belt. And they found a home for it, Scott. Wendy Richter with the women's title.
The figure itself, like you said, I'm so happy that they found a home for it. It's high time that they did. And she's not the only one. Spoiler alert.
Elite Royal Rumble Series, Bobby Lashley with the ECW World title. Lita, there's the second of the three women that were supposed to come out in that Then, Now, and Forever 3-pack. Macho Man, he will have that salmon color outfit, bandana and scepter outfit he wore at Royal Rumble 91 where he cracked Warrior over the head with the scepter to make him lose the title to Sergeant Slaughter.
I still go back and watch Rumble 91 when that goes down and hope that somehow Macho doesn't hit Warrior. It just, that crushed my soul as a kid when they took the title off of Warrior because I knew they were immediately going to spin around and put it on Hogan. Like I knew Slaughter was a placeholder champion until they could get that title back on Hogan, and it crushed me. I just felt like they didn't give Warrior enough of a shot, and it was like, boom, give it back to Hogan, and I was so crushed. I loved Ultimate Warrior, and Warrior wore one of his best outfits that night too, the red, white, and blue. It's so iconic. So many people remember it, and every time I watch it, I'm like, come on, Macho, don't do it this time, please. Can we just not hit Warrior and just let him squash Slaughter in the match? But no, of course. Every time, here comes the scepter, there goes the title.
29 years later, you're still hoping?
Still, my soul is crushed.
You sound like me when I watched the Buffalo Bills lose the first Super Bowl to the New York Giants. Come on, Norwood, you can make this kick.
How does it affect you when you watch the other three?
That one, those other three were just a shit show. That first one, I had hope. Moving on. The Rock, he will be coming with the spinner belt. Good Rock.
So this would be like WrestleMania 29 era Rock?
Yes.
When he came back? Okay. So he's got the spinner, the Cena championship, essentially.
Yep, that's it. The one that he beat Punk for.
Yes. So, Jeff, what are your thoughts on the Lita figure?
It's good.
It's good.
Yeah, I know what they were going for. I'm still gonna buy it.
Of course.
But yeah, it's good. I don't think it's better than her first Elite, the one that came out just about a few years ago.
I'm going to agree with you on that.
I know what look they were going for. I do. They were going with her, with Edge, and all that stuff. But it's good. I'm still buying it. They're still getting my cash on it. So, it's good enough for me to drop the coin for.
So looking at these four figures, are you going to be purchasing at least half?
Yes. Lita and Macho are coming home.
Okay, that's what I figured. So you're going to pass on Rock and definitely passing on Lashley.
Yeah, I think I am.
I saw that Lashley. It's a really good Lashley figure. And they're giving us another ECW title, which I think is great. Interesting that they would go ECW Lashley. I got to give it up to Mattel on that one. That was a great call.
Well, it's nothing against the Lashley or the Rock figure. It's just, I don't know. To me, I see the names of Lashley and another Rock figure, and I'm like, okay, I have Lashley figures from the past. I have Rock figures from the past. So, it's like, okay, I've got enough of those. I don't need to drop my money on those. But I see Lita, and I know I have plenty of Lita figures from the past, but I kind of dig this one, and it's good enough for me to say, okay, I'm going to go spend $20 on it. The Macho Man, again, I'm okay with that. I'm going to go drop the $20 for it. I like it. I know what it's capturing. It's capturing that Royal Rumble 91. I'm okay with that, and I like it, and I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I see exactly what you're saying. Rock is a pass for me for sure, but if you don't have a Lashley figure in your collection, that's a hell of a figure to pick up right there with the ECW title. That's not an era Lashley I really expected him to go for, but kudos to Mattel for doing it. Cool Lashley, it comes with the ECW title. If you don't have one in your collection and you're looking for one to hang up on the wall, maybe get signed, that's definitely one to go for.
Sasha Banks, they showed off her rendering for the RSC exclusive. She will have purple hair, legit boss rings, jacket, and glasses. So that will be the RSC exclusive.
Wait. Jeff, purple hair?
Yeah, purple hair.
Are you sure that that's not blue hair?
No, that's purple, dude.
Are you sure? I'm seeing blue.
Hold on.
I'm seeing blue hair in this picture, not purple. So we're almost playing like what color is the dress right now?
No, dude, that's purple.
Okay, all the pictures I've seen, I thought it was blue. Doesn't blue make more sense because her hair's blue now?
I'm looking at it right now and it looks purple to me.
Interesting.
Dude, this is the dress all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing blue hair. And again, I'm the older of the two, so I could be the first to go colorblind here, but I'm pretty sure that's blue hair, dude.
Oh, dude, we got to put up a poll after the show drops. Is it purple?
Yes. What color hair is Sasha? Oh, that's good. Let's see if we get a 50-50 split.
Oh, dude, that's hilarious. I swear I see purple, dude.
I see blue. Even in the picture you just showed me, I see blue, not purple. We're looking at the same picture. You see purple.
I do. That's hella funny, dude.
I love it.
Let's moving on. Series 4 of the Ultimate Editions. Brock Lesnar, I put with shitting face.
You did.
I did, dude.
It literally says in the notes that exact phrase.
Well, I put that in there because, dude, it looks like he's trying to hammer one out, dude. I mean, and it's like painful.
It's not going well.
Neither is that face scan.
It's like he had one too many items from the Taco Bell value menu, and he's suffering now.
And then Shawn Michaels with his Montreal Screwjob outfit. Scott, I've got to ask, what do you think of these?
Much how I felt when I first played WWE 2K20. The Shawn Michaels sculpt, horrendous. The Brock Lesnar, you nailed it. The face is atrocious. Look, you're going to charge like $30 a figure. The sculpts have to be better. And neither guy is impressive. It's like you've had good with Rousey. You've had, the Brett, not fantastic. The Shinsuke was good. The Triple H, good. The Balor, good. These two, Brock and HBK, huge step back. A huge step back for the Ultimate Editions.
You know what the faces look like to me, at least? It looks like they tried to go for a cartoony look, but halfway through, they're like, no, we got to add realism to it. And then they started to go towards the realism, and it got half and half. Because if you look at it, the Shawn Michaels face looks kind of cartoony, but not all the way cartoony.
Yeah, either way, whatever they were trying, it missed. And, I mean, these would be okay if they were basics. They would get a pass, no problem. But these are $25 to $30 figures. You don't get a pass with these. These need to be spot on, and neither is. I don't like either one of them.
If you want a good Shawn Michaels in the Montreal Screwjob outfit, just go purchase that 2-pack from Jack's back in the day where it was a Montreal Screwjob 2-pack with him and Brett. So I'm not sold on these. Like, the first 4 series are coming out, and Triple H is okay. I'll give them to the Triple H. The Finn Balor, it's good. The Brett was atrocious. The Shinsuke was meh.
It was good. I like the Shinsuke.
It was okay.
Rousey was good. Warrior was great.
See, I didn't like the Rousey. I'll give you Warrior, but Rousey in that first series, I just couldn't, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it.
So you're you're almost pushing like 60-40 on these. Dislike versus like. Interesting. And that, again, I hate to keep bringing price point into it, but man, I'm on a figure budget and I'm walking into Target and I'm seeing Brock and Shawn Michaels sitting there. I'm probably going to pick up no Brock figures, and I'll grab the basic Shawn Michaels from Series 100 over that one any day.
The Shawn Michaels, if it drops down far enough, I will pick it up. Like if it goes onto Amazon for maybe $18, I'll pick up the Shawn. The Brock is not getting picked up, man. That's getting left on every peg.
Are you going to head swap the Shawn Michaels? Because that's not a good head sculpt for HBK in that Ultimate.
Actually, if I was ever to do it, that would be the time.
Oh, for sure. And I would take that basic 100 head and stick it on the Ultimate Editions. It would be a huge improvement.
Scott, Steve Ozer was over on the figure forums. He was doing a huge Q&A that lasted numerous days. You could tell by the end he was just hating his life.
He's like, come on, guys. Really? How many questions could you have?
It's like Jeremy Patter back in the day when he was doing the Jax ones when they were coming out with Chinese New Year figures.
Which we discussed with the UK guys, Mark and Paul.
So I'm going to just go over the questions. I'm not going to read every single one, even though I put them all down. I'm just going to skip over. Starting off, somebody asked, can you release the King Harley race figure again? Steve said, trying to work this out. Give us some more time. Will you ever make a Nation of Domination Mark Henry? It's a possibility as long as he remains under a deal. I'm probably going to be saying this in a lot of answers.
And you will.
Somebody asked, will there be a Billy Graham made? I think he's very important to conclude. If we can, we will. Why aren't all released figures made available for purchase while supplies last, of course, on the Mattel site, aside from store exclusives? There's not currently a Mattel retail site. I put that question in there just for you, Scottoon.
If only there was a place.
I'm moving on. I'm cutting you off right there. Where are more WCW belts? More should come when appropriate talent warrants them. Somebody asked, is it Tony time yet? I'm sure in time, not yet though.
I really want a Tony Storm. I second that question. I really want to see Tony Storm get released.
Someone asked, any plans for Mr. Fuji or Captain Lou? He says he doesn't have access to them, sadly.
There's a trend, right? We're seeing it. And that's why I posed that question earlier when the news started. You're definitely seeing the trend where there's these demands for these figures. Somebody's got to make them at some point. But I do love that question specifically because they went the manager route, which is one of the main reasons we loved LJN so much, because we got all of the managers. And really, we've received like singles here and there, but nobody has put out like a manager series. How cool would it be if Mattel stepped up and finally did it?
Are former WWE stars who are now employed by the Performance Center eligible for flashbacks? Red Rooster and Scotty 2 Hottie have been done, and both are Performance Center trainers. Next question. Well, let me answer that question, because a lot of people put like 5 questions or 7 questions into one question. So that was the first question regarding the Performance Center trainers. Steve said some backstage talent have deals, some don't. We'll try to get as many people out as possible who are under contract. Will Build-A-Figures continue in certain waves? And if so, will they be more suited characters, J.J. Dillon, Howard Finkel, or something like the WrestleMania 36 Danny Davis? There will be more Build-A-Figures, but that method is being used sparingly at the moment. They don't necessarily have to be suited figures. What factors go into deciding which figures gets a chase variant in a wave? Is it based on attire, variety, or doubts if a particular character will sell? Chase figure selection, variety of factors. Whatever we as a group deem appropriate for each particular series. Somebody asked Jeff Jarrett, please. He said, not under a deal, but I sure do want some Jarrett figures. This is what I find interesting, and I wish someone could explain this one to me. Jeff Jarrett got into the Hall of Fame, and okay, there's still no Legends deal. I guess, hey, you're just being inducted and that's it, right? But Jeff Jarrett still does access signings for WWE. He still does other stuff for WWE. What is preventing them from getting him under that Legends deal to profit off of Jeff Jarrett merchandise?
Dude, you're preaching to the choir. Like, get these guys under a deal, like you said, especially when they're in the Hall of Fame. Get them under a merch deal. And I think, again, going back to our earlier conversation with these other companies stepping up and making wrestling figures, there's going to start to be competition for these licenses. So if they're in the Hall of Fame, they'd better lock them up, or somebody like FTC, Storm Collectibles, somebody's going to step up, snatch up the license and make a figure of them before Mattel even has a chance to.
If somebody knows that answer, I'm actually really curious about why that is. Like, to me, if I'm in good terms with Jeff Jarrett. I'm going to want to put out Jeff Jarrett shirts. I'm going to want to put out Jeff Jarrett figures. I'm going to want to profit off Jeff Jarrett merchandise because there are a lot of Jeff Jarrett fans out there.
Absolutely.
So why not put out a shirt of Jeff Jarrett in the old school top hat with the light up? And I mean, people would be clamoring for that, at least in my eyes.
No, they absolutely would. And there was another question for it. There's definitely a trend in this Q&A. Are we going to get so-and-so? Are we going to get so-and-so? There's lots of wrestling figure companies now. Just saying. Somebody
asked, is there a Nation of Domination, comma? It's a possibility as long as he remains under a deal. Somebody said, I'm not asking if or when retros are coming back, but has there been renewed interest in the line based on outpouring of fan support since the hiatus announcement? Steve said, not really, honestly. The fandom for this line seems to be very measurable. No surprises with the passionate support.
That's got to have an online only spot. It has to. Give it to an online retailer or a couple of them, but retail, like the brick and mortar stores, that's not the answer for the retro line at all.
There's one thing I'm going to point out when we get to the end of this, and I'm going to see if fans pick up on it, and we'll see, but when I mention it at the end, I want you guys to see if you guys picked up on something that I noticed when I was doing all these. We'll get to that at the end. Odds of getting a WCW and ECW Paul E, and also a 93 to 95 Jerry Lawler.
Good questions.
It's a possibility as long as they remain under deals. He's going to be giving that answer a lot, folks. Given that many of the classic ECW stars are not under contract, is it possible we will see ECW attires of WWE legends like Austin, Guerrero, and Mysterio? Steve said nothing planned, but it could happen.
Well, if you really want ECW figures, you can head over to FTC.
Exactly. You got some Jerry Lynn figures over there.
Gonna have a Sandman figure. Yep.
Can we expect to see more UK figures soon? Hopefully we can get more NXT UK talent in the line as they continue to gain more popularity. When you do repaints on figures, will you start doing a poll of what attire fans rather have? Make repaints a little more exciting. Example, Macho Man Halloween Havoc 96, SummerSlam 92, Rumble 93, and Mania 6. Steve said no polls currently planned, but it could happen again one day. Chances of a WrestleMania 19 HBK Elite? Steve said maybe. How come we haven't gotten an early 90s WWF era Jerry the King Lawler? Steve said just hasn't happened yet. When Matt Riddle gets an Elite figure, will he have removable flip-flops? Steve said TBD. Please explain in detail how you see the WWE retro situation playing out. Steve said, when we are ready, all will be clearly shared. They don't have a plan yet, Scott, do they?
Yeah, there's no plan. Yeah, there's definitely no plan. Yeah, let's finish the fourth quarter out strong, guys, and then we'll talk about retros maybe in June.
Just kidding. We don't know. We're not in the boardroom. Any word on guys from the concussion lawsuit, this is a question I found to interest me because I thought the concussion lawsuit was settled.
Isn't it?
That's what I thought too. But they answered, it's still ongoing. There's a site that details the latest. Just Google it. I remember reading that it was all settled.
That's what I remember as well. I guess we were mistaken.
I'm going to have to do a little research into that and I'll have update for you guys next week. This guy asked any update with Coco Beware and Steve Kern, aka Skinner, available to use. They said no updates on those talents. Remember they were supposed to come out with a Coco Beware Elite? I forget which series that was.
You're right, they were.
And then they pulled it at the last second.
Yep, I remember that.
So somebody's breaching in here. Is there any excitement with the Super 7 New Japan figures and Boss Fight Lucha figures that are going to be compatible with the Elite line? They said, I think all of us on the team that collect are really excited for those figures. I want to throw FTC in there. Don't leave FTC out. FTC is doing some good things. That Jay White, I like that head sculpt, the Joey Janela. Let's not leave FTC out.
I agree with you, dude. 100%.
Is there any really exciting flashback characters you guys are working on? They just said yes. Very vague.
All right, man. The fountain of information here.
What are the odds of getting some more ECW representation into the not so distant future? Limited ECW talent available to us at the moment, but we'll always try to make the most of what we have available. Have you noticed a lot of ECW questions, Scott?
Yeah, there's a lot of love for it, man. And I'm wondering, do these guys even know about FTC? Because FTC has some big names from ECW, and you can go get those figures like right now, and there's more on the way.
They know, dude. FTC's been around forever, dude. And I bet you they have a couple. I'm assuming that they may have a couple figures from guys that they loved in their childhood and maybe from ECW years. That's my thought. I'm not claiming that they do. I'm saying I think that they do have figures of certain FTC guys from their childhood in their collection.
Well, I hope so. I hope that they do because, man, they're really bringing it with the ECW figures. FTC is.
Yeah.
So hopefully those guys know about FTC.
Any chance we'll get an Oscar with a robe or a misspitting head sculpt? We'll see. It'd be great if we can make it happen. Any chance we see re-releases of King Kong Bundy, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Paul Orndorff, Hillbilly Jim, the Bushwhackers, Rick Martel, Akeem, or Nikolai Volkov? They said most are not under deals, so highly unlikely. If that changes, then maybe. How come we haven't gotten the Hollywood Blondes in elite form? They said Blondes just hasn't worked out just yet. Okay, one, why hasn't the Blondes worked out just yet? And two, you're saying yet, which means there's possibility.
Well, so I'm going to assume from that answer that Brian Pillman is still under a deal that they can make figures of him. Obviously, they can still make Stone Cold Steve Austin, so there has to be a Hollywood Blondes at some point. If you have the rights to make both of those guys, there has to be a Hollywood Blondes set that comes out. There has to be. I don't even care if it's in a battle pack, dude. Just give me the Blondes.
What's preventing them from putting those figures out? I mean, obviously everybody knows about the Blondes, wants a Steve Austin and Brian Pillman. Come with a camera. Come with the marker. You know, all that stuff. Come with all that. I don't know why they're dragging their feet on a Blondes 2-pack. I think that would be perfect.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. And I think that in battle packs, one of those three should be a throwback set. I mean, if you're already giving us the same figures in basic form and elite form, at least throw us a bone and give us one of the battle packs as an old tag team. Hollywood Blondes would be perfect for that.
Somebody asked Two Dudes with Attitude 2-pack. They said, I don't think we'll be seeing this anytime soon, but not completely impossible. Somebody said, at one point, was Owen Hart really rumored to be part of the Mattel line? They said was never possible. Are soft goods jackets like Finn's going to be more common in the future? Are Io Shirai and Kairi Sane in the current heel gear possibilities? You will see soft goods included as frequently in the future as you have been over the past few years. It depends on the specifics of the figure and the particular series. Of course, they are possibilities. Anyone under a contract with merch rights is a possibility. With Matt Hardy Epic Moments figure finally coming out with both his drone and boat. Yeah, he did have the drone, that's right. Will we still see the lawnmower released anytime in the future? They said trying to get the lawnmower out, but not in the cards just yet. Question number 2 from this gentleman. Any new news on the Paul Ellering figure getting released? We saw that one back at Access in New Orleans, Scott.
Right.
They said same for Ellering. Not in the cards, I guess.
Wow, that really sucks.
I know, but where would they put it? They can't do LOD figures because I guess the concussion lawsuit's still going on, which we went back and we found that was done. Well, I don't know. I'm confused. I'm gonna have to do some research on that, Scott.
Well, I mean, look, Ellering could make his way in as one of the Build-A-Figures.
True. That's an excellent point. With there now being Royal Rumble themed series, can we expect a Big Daddy V figure in that line, being that he was at the 2008 Rumble? They said Big Daddy V in a Rumble assortment? Probably not.
Well, they did show a Big Daddy V at the RSC Fest.
They did, but it won't be in the Royal Rumble assortment.
Well, no, but we did see a Big Daddy V, so that's cool. We're actually getting a Big Daddy V.
Yes. What accessories with the Royal Rumble Macho Man besides scepter and bandana? Now, I don't know if they were joking on this, but they said light rig to bash Warrior as he runs down the aisle after sensational Queen Sherry.
That would be a great accessory to throw in.
This one I thought was interesting because we just bashed this figure, but they said somebody asked what went into the decision of making Brock Lesnar as an Ultimate Edition figure. They said he's an A-list talent with a lot of facial expressions.
Well, that is one. True.
That is definitely true. Who would also benefit from the updated articulation. I don't know about that one. Anyways.
Yeah, it's because it's Brock Lesnar and retailers want him maybe because he's a champion again.
But then he would be in the top picks and top talents and all that other crap.
Yeah.
And so far it's been Braun, AJ, Finn, Roman. No, not Roman. I forget the other one.
Another Brock. And a bad Brock at that.
Can we please get NXT Titus and Roderick Strong? Trying to get Titus out, Roderick's cancel figure may take a bit longer since he just had a release.
That's the thing, too, with that one. Is there really a demand for it? You've got to think with the UE figure that just came out, like, that would be the one that people would more want over, at least, this, again, my opinion, this is what I would clamor for, would be the UE Roderick over the throwback Roderick from his singles run. I would way rather have the UE one, and then maybe, depending on how well he does when he hits the main roster or how well NXT does, maybe get a throwback Roderick later on. But maybe I'm wrong, but I can't see people really clamoring for a singles run Roderick Strong figure.
UE? Oh, you mean Ultimate Edition Roderick Strong? Yes, I would like an Ultimate Edition Roderick Strong, Scott.
Me too, Jeff.
What?
Me too. Pat on the head for you.
I think a lot of people just want that jacket and want to recreate the heel turn, or maybe...
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. I gotcha. I see. That makes sense.
Yeah. That's what at least my head went.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So this gentleman who wrote in on the forums, he had 7 questions wrapped up into one. So Steve answered each one. Can we expect more WCW title belt accessories a la WCW Ron Simmons circa 92 in the coming years? Steve said most likely. Is there any chance that the figures from Walmart flashback waves such as Ricky Steamboat could land elsewhere in other waves in the future? Steve said it could happen. 3. Will the new Rick Rude Elite figure come with his black robe and IC title belt from the SummerSlam 89 event, or just the swappable hands? I think it could probably use the same black robe and that was made for the SummerSlam 90 Rick Rude figure that was made some years back. Steve said he'll definitely have a robe and swappable hands. Anything else would be revealed when the physical figure is revealed.
This Q&A is one big maybe, isn't it? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Maybe.
That was one thing that I also caught on to. But anyways, number 4, would you ever like to make an Elite Corporal Kirshner action figure? Steve said, I mean, I would, but I highly doubt we'll ever get rights to him. Number 5, would it be possible to use an early to mid 80s belt design for the Intercontinental title or even the WWF World Championship? Like, are those rights to use those designs available? I really wouldn't mind having classic early 80s WWF designs for those belts. Steve said, we have the rights to a few more classic titles that we are working on getting out, just a matter of timing in the lineups. Any possibilities for alternate strap designs for IC title belt accessories, such as Goldust Gold Strap, Shawn Michaels Blue, etc. I love getting alternate strap colors for title belt accessories. He says, yeah, no reason that's off the table. This one is for Steve from the PPW podcast. I hope you're listening. How about an Elite Rugged Ronnie Garvin figure? They said, realistically, I doubt we'll get rights to him.
That's a great question.
Is Brother Love possible, or is he one of those backstage guys that has a different deal? Don't have access to Brother Love yet, but if that changes, he goes on the line as soon as possible, ASAP. I don't understand that one. Jax did it. I mean, they have the rights to do a Brother... I don't know. I would love to know the backstory to that, like the contract part of it, or why WWE would keep that one off the table, or I really would love to know the stories to those. And if anybody has any information, send it on over.
I think a Brother Love figure would be outstanding.
Jax did one.
No, exactly. And I would love to see Mattel take a swing at it too. I mean, who doesn't want a Brother Love figure?
I know Ring Skirts would be clamoring for one.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, Nate absolutely killed it on the Brother Love costume. Gotta have a figure to match, which I'm sure he has the classic superstars. But man, I would love to see Mattel take a swing at Brother Love. That would be great.
This was a funny question. I had to laugh at this one. But my main want is 1996 Warrior with the plain black paint and ball cap on an interview segment on Raw with Jerry Lawler. Can you please make that happen? They said a little more unlikely to be honest, but not impossible given time. Do you remember that segment, Scott?
Absolutely, I remember it. And I thought that the face paint was very cool. It was very simple, but that would be a stretch. That would be like Mattel is sitting at the conference table. Guys, we need to milk out like 3 more Warrior figures. We've done almost every single attire he's ever been in. We need 3 more. Go. And that could be one of the 3. But that would be like, I think, towards the tail end of, okay, we've put out every Warrior that we can think of. What's left? and that one would be released.
I remember Jerry Lawler ripped him on the Warrior DVD that came out where they just trashed Warrior. But WWE has no recollection of that Warrior DVD ever coming out.
They're like, self-destruction of who? We never did that.
Do you know if there are any more Surfer Sting figures in the work for next year? They said this is not an announcement by any means, but of course there will be more Surfer Stings at some point. It's just a matter of timing. What are the chances of getting figures with enough articulation to pose figures in a true Figure 4 lock? They said, I don't see the leg articulation changing anytime soon. I'm curious, would it not behoove the WWE and Mattel if you knew months in advance who was going to be inducted into their Hall of Fame so you can make them as figure available for collectors? It seems to me that WWE Hall of Fame weekend, WrestleMania, would stand the test of time. They might do one paint app for that week. That one has to get in person to drive people there. Provide another paint app for Mattel and WWE online sales. You probably would sell both. If you don't buy it that year, next year they go up in price, the next year they go up even more, so that these would be true collector items. I would think with the WWE marketing and yours, these would be huge. Not feasible from a production or business standpoint. We also don't get word of Hall of Fame inductions if a time frame that would make this possible.
Oh, they were very firm on that answer.
No maybe on that one.
No, definitely no maybe. That was very cut and dried.
Question, are retros dead? If not, why were they put on ice to begin with? They needed a reboot. Hopefully we can bring them back sooner rather than later. A reboot? Oh, so that's where Jay and Silent Bob got it from, dude.
Yeah, exact. From the retros, yes. And you know what? I don't disagree with that. They were really, really stalling at retail at the brick and mortar stores. I know I've already said it this show, but it just seems to me that given the fan base for the retros, an online retailer or two are going to make more sense for that line moving forward.
Can Moolah be made? Meaning if she is under contract, would Mattel be willing to make her, and or would WWE sign off considering the controversy that surrounds her with the allegations that surfaced after her death and the backlash that arose when they tried to name a battle royal after her? They said, we don't have access to Moolah, but I'd push for an Attitude Era look for her if it were ever possible. Any first time in the line classic tag teams planned? First time in the line classic tag team figures? Not currently. New classic tag team versions of already done talent at some point soon, hopefully.
Man, who are we talking here? Heart Foundation? Bushwhackers?
Earthquake and Typhoon?
That's very possible.
Money Inc.?
The Ultimate Maniacs? I mean, I guess I'd be okay with most of those. I mean, it's not the first names I'd put on the list, but I'd still take them.
Any other referees possible? I'd love a Joey Morella, Tim White, Nick Patrick, and Charles Robinson. We don't have rights to any refs. That's why it took so long to get a ref figure out. Danny was an exception because he was an in-ring performer. That's very interesting. As much as I love the elites of Briscoe and Patterson that we got, I would much have preferred them in suits. Are there any planned, perhaps a battle pack? Suited versions of Patterson and Briscoe are pretty unlikely.
Aww.
Any chance that Wendy Richter's title strap can be changed to baby blue instead of black? They said not sure if there's time or if that was even final. We'll see. So there is a chance that they could get the blue strap attached to that belt, Scott.
There you go. Okay.
Any update on the Lars Sullivan Basic from San Diego Comic-Con? Lars is still on schedule as intended. If you do Hillbilly Jim again, can he get molded overalls? Hillbilly in molded overalls? Maybe. Not impossible. Any word on Brooklyn Brawler as a basic would be fine enough. Need to finish out the Heenan family. No word on Brawler. Has there been any thought on making some first time in the line flashbacks as part of the basic line? Yeah, of course, Firefly Funhouse Bray is possible. What obscure gimmick guy would you like to do? TL Hopper, The Goon, or who? I want Gobbledygooker, Max Moon, and Battle Cat. He's listening to our show.
Bingo. Yep.
This was actually a very interesting question. For a while, it seemed like the basic lines were an opportunity to release figures of gimmicks or wrestlers who may not warrant an elite treatment. Sid Justice, Vaudevillains, Blue LOD. It seems like the designs have moved away from that over the last few years. Any chance we'll see some more obscure choices in the future? Was it intentional choice to focus more on current talent in the line? The current focus of basic skews more towards kids, so you'll see less legends there for now. No one available to us is off the table for an elite, though. Walgreens Naomi with glow-in-the-dark belt. They answered this back at San Diego Comic-Con. They said, no, that won't be coming. If we get Naomi into the line, she'll be updated and have the new leg articulation. Quick one, any chance of revisiting Barry Windham? I'd love for an official Mattel version with the look he had for most of his successful run. No ponytail, black, red, yellow tights, and matching boots and vest. Maybe a swappable glove hand from his Four Horsemen days. Would he be the kind of character that could get a second shot in the Network Spotlight series? Steve said, we'll try to revisit whoever we can if they are a compelling option and they are under contract. What you laughing about over there, Scott?
Yeah, it's wash, rinse, repeat, dude. It's like almost the same answer every single time. Anytime somebody asks about a character, it's almost identical. There can be no firm answers.
Correct.
Ugh, frustrating. And I understand Steve's hands are tied. He can't tip his hand too much, but man, it's just like one huge maybe.
Is El Matador a possibility? And I thought this question was funny because when I read that, I was like, uh-oh, target Tito.
Yeah.
So they said Tito just depends on contract availability. Will there be any more figures of the Von Erichs? Not sure if we'll see those. We'll see. If they remain available to us, basically maybe.
Shocking.
Would you ever want to make a Mean Mark version of The Undertaker? I would personally want Mean Mark, hopefully someday. Can you verify this statement? Because it sounds like you are saying that even if someone is signed and available to Mattel, that doesn't necessarily guarantee you will make a figure of them. What factors, aside from the approval of the overlords at WWE, are involved in deciding whom to make a figure of? Billy Graham has been under a Legends deal for several years now, yet no figure has been made. What is the reason for this? Do you not think a figure of him would sell well? Have you not found a proper spot for him, or is WWE blocking a figure being made? They said there's no more info I'm able to share on Billy. Sorry, if we were able to, we will get him in the line. And the hypothetical figure would have a proper reveal. So, Scott, I'm going to point something out that I don't know if anybody else picked up on during all those questions. Did you notice that not one person asked about the Masters of the Universe figures? We had the questions regarding retros. I skipped over some questions regarding Ghostbusters because it's stuff we already knew. But not one person asked about the Masters of the Universe. Now, my question is there any fire behind this line that is soon to be coming up and in stores?
Well, they've already announced the ring. They've already announced, 3 series of the figures. So, I mean, they've kind of already given us the knowledge of what's going to be coming in that line. So maybe that's why nobody asked about it. But honestly, if I'm given one shot to ask Steve a question, and I'm just thinking about this, if I'm sitting in a forum and I'm waiting my turn to ask a question, my question's not going to be about the Masters of the Universe line, no matter how much I love it. My question is going to be, most likely, can you make the Midnight Express? It would be something along that line. Or can you give us a hint about the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive next year? Something like that. It's not going to be a question about the Masters of the Universe line. So I don't know if there's really a correlation to be drawn there between interest of that Masters of the Universe line and his Q&A. I don't know. It's possible that was a good grab on your spot that you noticed that. There were questions about retros. You said there were questions about the Ghostbusters crossover figures. A million questions about, are we going to get this guy? Even questions about battle packs and elites. But yeah, nothing about Masters of the Universe. But I don't know that you can draw a correlation there between interest in the line and his Q&A. I don't know, dude. That to me, that's kind of a reach.
It's funny because I was just reading over all those questions and I didn't see one Masters of the Universe. A few questions about retros, a few questions about elites and who's this guy and who's that guy. But it just didn't seem like there was any fire behind it. And I even saw 2 questions regarding Ghostbusters. So there's some interest in the Ghostbuster figures. Maybe we have to wait and see till they come out. And maybe then when people are actually holding them, they are like, oh, this is great. I need more. But out of all those questions I just read, and even the ones I didn't read, there wasn't a Masters of the Universe line.
That is very interesting. But I will say that I've seen on different social media platforms that the rings are starting to hit. And
yes,
there's a lot of excitement about the rings. So that's a good start for the line. The product's been released. People have it in hand. They're impressed with what they have. and they're excited about it. So that's good. That's good for the line. Maybe not so good that 0 questions were asked of Steve when doing a huge Q&A on the Mattel line, specifically the WWE line. I don't know, dude. I'm personally not going to draw too much from that, but there could be something there.
So Scott, what's your overall takeaway from that Q&A?
That it's a lot of maybe. It's almost like they have these Q&As and poor Steve, his hands are tied. I'm sure that there's like a million things he wants to share with people about stuff that they're discussing, stuff that's on the table, stuff that's like almost near completion to being made that hasn't been announced yet. And he would love to tell everybody this, but his hands are tied. He can't tip his hand too much to let you know what's coming and what's not. Basically, everything is a maybe and we'll see, and it's on the table or it's not off the table. Like, I just feel bad for him having to do these. I really do, because it's going to be the same questions over and over again. But aside from what's already been shown, it has to have a proper reveal. He can't tip his hand. You know, somebody's like, oh, can we get a Superstar Billy Graham figure? Oh, yeah, you know what? That's coming out in 2 months. We just haven't told you guys yet. Of course he can't say that. Like, I just feel bad for him having to do, he has to do these, but I feel bad for him having to do them. Because again, it's the same questions, and he's having to give the same responses over and over again, which at the end of it is just one big maybe, or we'll see.
Right. And you know what? Steve is a good spokesperson for them to have. I was reading something, I don't know what happened, but I guess Bill left the message boards, or he didn't come on as much, because he probably just got drowned in stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Just, hey, this arm is too big. Where's this articulation? You know, he's probably tired of answering the same question 7,000 times.
For sure.
And Bill's like, done. I need to focus on my job. So he left the boards or something. That's what I could see him doing. But Steve is a great spokesperson for them to have, and him to come on and answer these same questions over and over. Jeremy Powder, I can never pronounce that guy's name. Yeah, the guy from Jax. He used to do that all the time on the Wrestling Figs message boards. He would come on and he would be like I said earlier, here's next 9 series of Jax Classics. Here's the next Deluxe Aggression. Here's the next Ruthless Aggression. Here's the next this. And here's the next 5 series of them. And he would sit there and answer the questions like Steve did. And that's what it reminds me of, is when Jeremy used to do that with Jax. Kudos to Steve for sticking with it. It probably took him days to answer all those questions, but kudos to him. And like you said, his hands are tied. He could only answer questions that he can only go so far on. Any chance of this guy, if he's under contract, he's going to say that thousands and thousands of times, because he can't tip his hand if they got that email from WWE saying, hey, this guy is now on the table. That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for that email from WWE. Here's a list of guys that you guys can now start going and making. Can you imagine the shock look they got when they saw that China was on that list, that email that came over? China's on the board now. They probably busting out the door trying to go get the parts and everything and the renderings and everything and doing test shots and photo shots and all that stuff. They probably started working on that the second that came across.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about it. And that's another one that we saw at the RSC festival, was a sculpt or a proto of China. So that had to be very, very exciting for them to be able to get her. So, Jeff, real quick to kind of like sandwich the RSC Fest talk, you talked about guys that were slotted for specific series, and during your conversation of the Q&A with Steve, we kind of sprinkled in a couple of names as well. But 3 names kind of that we didn't really talk about because they don't have homes yet. We did see Viscera, we did see China, and we did see Pete Dunne in various stages of finished and not finished prototype. I think the China is going to be an incredible figure. It is a huge get. As you mentioned, those guys at Mattel had to be just like jumping through the roof when they got the news they could finally make a China figure. So they finally had an answer to all the millions of questions that came in. When are we getting China? That they could finally make her. It's amazing for us as collectors. I think the Pete Dunne, that's great. They're doing another Dunne figure. Awesome. And then Viscera. It's almost like the Mabel figure opened up the floodgates. Like, okay, now give us Men on a Mission. Like, you're giving us Viscera, that's great. You gave us Mabel. Now give us Oscar, give us Mo. Here we go, wish list. But those are kind of 3 names that don't really have homes yet, but incredible additions to the Mattel line. And I'm really, really happy with what I saw at Ringside Fest. There was a 2-pack of Finn and Lashley. It's going to be a battle pack, but Lashley comes with the white IC title. Even that is good. So I'm hoping that with these other players in the game, Mattel starts to up their game. But from what I saw at RSC Fest, so far so good.
Well, that rounds out the Festival of Ringside, Scott. Well, we got episode 200. We got the Toys That Made Us coming up this week. We've got some stuff coming up this week, but usually around this time of the year is when we hit our little bit of a lull. It's around this time, and then usually around April. Actually, we have access, but I'd say about May before San Diego Comic-Con, we hit another lull. So this is one of our lulls during the year that kind of put stuff together for the show and get a show out there for you guys.
Well, what I'm hoping too, Jeff, is there is the New York City Toy Fair that happens in February. So I'm hoping that some of these unfinished versions, like the 3 I just mentioned, specifically Viscera, China, Pete Dunne, and then the photos that you mentioned of The Fiend and Sasha Banks, which, fingers crossed, we're finally going to get a good Sasha that doesn't require sunglasses. I'm hoping that we see finished products of those figures at New York City Toy Fair. Fingers crossed that's in February. Hopefully 3 months is enough time for them to finish those figures up. We get some finished products shown. But again, we'll see. But I'm really, really happy with what Mattel has in the pipeline, what we've seen from Super 7, Storm, and Master Republic Boss Fight. 2019 has been fantastic. 2020 is going to be even better. I can't wait to see what 2020 brings.
2020 is going to bring us New Japan figures and Master Republic Boss Fight figures. That's what I'm looking forward to, and more FTC figures. They have so many figures lined up right now. I mean, a ton of figures lined up, including the Ring of Honor line. So
yeah, the ROH line's going to blow up.
You know what's funny is a wise man once said, Scott, it is a great time to be a figure collector.
An incredibly wise man, Jeff.
Okay,
or wise guy. I'm not sure.
Book smart. So
yes, thank you.
So that rounds out the Festival of Ringside, Scott. Thank you to Smart Cups for getting me through the show. I am now hoarse right now because I had to read all those questions where basically Steve said maybe. And but basically, as I said, you guys see the back, kind of into the back of what Steve can say and what he can't say. So anyways, thank you to Steve for doing that also. And thank you to Smart Cups. Head on over to smartcups.com. Use that code FullyPoseable20 because we are an energy drink podcast, Scott. Actually, our genre is collectibles, but I think if they made an energy drink genre in iTunes, I think we would have to be slotted into there.
Oh, we'd definitely be dipping into that a little bit for sure. Yes, wrestling figures / energy drinks. Again, we've carved out a little niche for ourselves. Nobody else is doing that.
WrestlingToyTracker.com is where you can see the average prices of Galoobs, Hasbros, LJNs, and WWF Retros. You can check out prices over there at Wrestling Toy Tracker. And don't forget, they have a shirt also on whatamaneuver.net that you can pick up. You can also follow him on Twitter at toy_tracker. Scott Eagle Moss.
Yeah, Eagle Moss. Guys, if you're not subscribed yet, jump on over to at HeroCollector_ on Twitter. Give Eagle Moss a follow over there. Check out their products. Subscribe. If you subscribe to their wrestling line, they will send you a ring to display their WWE statues in. Legends, current superstars, you name them, they're either out or they're going to be coming out. And when you subscribe to their service, they will send you the statues directly to your door. Full color box. The statues look incredible. You won't be disappointed. Go check them out again on Twitter at HeroCollector_.
Also want to throw it back to the podcast buddies. I want to throw it back to Breaker and Bane. Those two each week do a show on wrestling, Funko News, WTF stories. They have a guest sit-in. They also have side project. Breaker has Back to Nintendo, and I feel bad for Bane as he has to deal with Bill Venus, but that's hard. That's difficult. So all kudos to Bane for having to deal with that guy.
Thoughts and prayers.
But yeah, thoughts and prayers, man. But their main podcast, check out Breaker and Bane's Power Hour on iTunes. Also, Eric and Barry doing a Figs and Merch episode each week, bringing the humor. I think they were nominated. We were nominated for a Wrestle Hub award, Scott.
We were, yes, again.
Yes. We were nominated again. So, but also congrats to Eric and Barry. 2 rooks coming in, just breaking the door down, bringing humor to the Fig Life community. I was joking around with someone. I said, Eric and Barry can get away with things that we can't, Scott. We can't curse because we're family friendly.
Well, I mean, we can, but it completely goes against, like, what did we stop swearing? Like episode 3, episode 4, something like that?
Well, I said shitting face tonight.
That's true. You did say that. And I think maybe we've gotten a little loosey-goosey with it. You know what? DTF might be rubbing off on us a little bit, Jeff. We're starting to bring kind of the vulgarity into the show a little bit, especially you, potty mouth.
That's about as far as I'll go, is just say shitting face. They are 2 great guys that I am glad to call friends. Eric and Barry doing the Favor podcast over there. Check them out. Steve over at the PPW podcast. Exciting news coming up with that guy. I'll have to kind of pump the brakes. I'll have to be like Steve Ozer from Mattel and kind of just go, it's a possibility that Steve from the PPW podcast and I might be doing something in the near future.
Maybe it's not off the table.
Yes, it's not off the table. Maybe. So check out Positively Pro Wrestling Podcast. Marty and Sarah each week invite their friends and buddies onto their show where they talk about humor in the wrestling world with their buddies. Jeff Palmacchio is doing Not Your Mama's Soap Opera podcast. And follow Jordan Cassat on his new YouTube channel. Scott, roll call.
Roll call. We're going to start it out as we always do with our artist of choice, I should say, Jason Wolf. Give him a follow on Twitter at JasonWLF if you need artwork. He's your guy. And he just doesn't do wrestling. I've seen him do Masters of the Universe. He's done Marvel. He's done Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. He's done G.I. Joe. I mean, you name it, he can draw it. So if you need any type of artwork, anything, at JasonWLF on Twitter, hit him up. He'll give you a quote. And if you use them, it's done quick. It's done correctly. You will be completely satisfied. On top of that, Jason's a hell of a dude. He's overlooked a lot of times when he shouldn't be. He's underutilized. I wish somebody would pick him up like Mattel. He would have been perfect for their retro line. I'm hoping he doesn't go overlooked for long. But until then, please, if you need any artwork, hit up Jason Wolf. He will take good care of you. I promise. Hitting up our figure photographers, I want to give a huge thanks again to Sean Welch. The guy does incredible work. He has thrown it out to Jeff and I numerous times over the last month, to which Jeff and I are greatly appreciative. If you're not following him, you should be. Give him a follow on Twitter. Again, Sean Welch, you can follow him at Sean, that's SEAN, Welch Photos. Next up, one of our really good friends, at Ring Skirts on Twitter, Nate. He's a hell of a guy. I love the dude. He's amazing. His turnbuckles are second to none. Give Nate a follow on Twitter at Ring Skirts. And I want to throw it out to one more this week, Ralphie Vibes. A hell of a dude, Jeff. You've had the pleasure of meeting him. I have not met him yet, but a hell of a guy, a hell of a follow. Give him a follow on Instagram at Elite Figure Vibes, and that's VYBZ. What's up, Ralphie? We love you, brother. And that rounds out roll call, Jeff.
Scott, next week is 200, man. I don't think we're going to be doing anything special like news or nostalgia or anything like that. I think we're just going to kind of be free-flowing on that one.
Yeah, we might have kind of like a rough format, but yeah, it's going to kind of be off the cuff. We're really going to kind of keep it in the family. It's going to be just a big homage to the stories that you guys have come to know and love. Maybe hear a few of those voices that can back those stories up and maybe shed a little more light on them. I'm truly looking forward to doing episode 200 with you. I can't believe we've made it this far. I can't believe that episode 200 happens to fall on the same weekend as the Toys That Made Us season 3, specifically the wrestling figure episode that you and I might be a part of, that our listeners made happen. What a ride, dude. Congratulations, brother.
It's just amazing what we were doing, dude. Back in episode 1, we had a Yeti mic between us and we just talked. And we talked for about 25 to 30 minutes. And that was it. And now the show's going about an hour and a half.
Yeah. A little more structure now.
Yeah, we were trying to keep it between 25 and 30 minutes, but it just kind of went off the rails. And next thing you know, it went 45 minutes. The next thing you know, it went hour. Now it's gone an hour 15, and now we're going to be looking at about an hour and a half this week.
Yeah, like Vince McMahon's music says, no chance in hell you could keep this show at 30 minutes. There's just no way.
Well, we are marching on to 200 now, Scott. It's time.
Yep.
That we start episode 200 right now. So, I'm just kidding. So, Scott.
Like, wait a second, I'm not prepared for this.
Wait, we're missing some people.
Yeah.
Scott,
hey, teaser.
For episode 199, anything else?
Fig Life since 2016. I love the listeners. And happy toy hunting.
Yes, from the Toon Brothers over here, we love you guys. Hashtag Fig Life. Adios.
Yeah. Fully poseable. Let's go. Jeff and Scott, the Toon Brothers, busting out the ring, but we don't take it out the box. MOC. Happy toy hunting. We'll see you next week with the OGs of WFP. Fully poseable, thank you all for listening. It ain't no storyline, real life siblings. So everybody go and do your toy spotting. Hashtag Fig Life, adios from the Kings.